Washington to use air route to drop aid into Gaza. Netherlands signed military aid worth €2 billion with Ukraine. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I am Olivia Nicholas and this is World Today. United States President Joe Biden said that Washington would start to deliver relief supplies from the air into Gaza a day after the deaths of more than 100 Palestinians at an aid convoy. The United States would also look at the possibility of a marine corridor to deliver large amounts of aid into Gaza, where residents face dire shortages of food, water and medicine.
Assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're going to insist that Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the help they need. No excuses, because the truth is, aid flowing to Gaza is nowhere nearly enough. Now, it's nowhere nearly enough. Innocent lives are on the line and children's lives are on the line. I mean, we won't stand by and let until we get more aid in there. We should be getting hundreds of trucks in, not just several.
During his remarks, Biden twice said Ukraine, but aides confirmed he meant Gaza. The U.S. president added that he would insist that ally Israel, which has pounded the Palestinian territory since the 7th of October, to let in more aid trucks. Biden said Thursday's aid convoy deaths happened because Gazans were caught in a terrible war and unable to feed their families. Biden added that he is hopeful that the progress of negotiations towards a 6-week ceasefire between Israel and Hamas will be known soon enough. The United States has backed Israel since the 7th of October attacks and supplied it with weapons, but it has also urged its ally to reduce Palestinian civilian deaths, saying they are much too high. Following weeks of simmering tension in the UK over the genocide in Gaza, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak yesterday said that the time has come to battle extremist forces, as he warned democracy itself is a target. In an unusual address from outside his Downing Street home, Sunak said that in recent weeks and months there have been a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. Regular marches protesting Israel's genocidal acts in Gaza have seen dozens arrested for anti-Semitic chanting and banners inviting support for a proscribed organization and assaulting emergency workers. Right-wing counter-protesters were also arrested when they descended on London for Remembrance Day events in November.
There have been those trying to take advantage of the very human angst that we all feel about the terrible suffering that war brings to the innocent, to women and children, to advance a divisive, hateful ideological agenda. On too many occasions recently, our streets have been hijacked by small groups who are hostile to our values and have no respect for our democratic traditions.
Matters came to a head last week when the Speaker of the House of Commons said he bucked procedure during a debate due to concerns about the safety of MPs. Sunak's speech came as left-wing firebrand George Galloway was elected to the UK Parliament after tapping into anger over the Gaza genocide in a chaotic by-election marred by allegations of anti-Semitism.
But just your own hard work.
Ukraine and the Netherlands signed a security agreement on Friday that will provide Kyiv with €2 billion of military aid this year. Kyiv has faced intense pressure on the front line in the past 3 months and has urged Western allies to send more aid as it struggles with ammunition shortages. The agreement came during a meeting between Zelensky and Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city and a frequent target for Russian attacks. In a social media post, Zelensky entails the document provides for €2 billion of military assistance from the Netherlands this year, as well as further defense assistance over the next 10 years. Ukraine warned last month it had received less than a third of the 1 million artillery shells the European Union had promised to deliver and was struggling to hold its defenses. It withdrew its forces from the eastern town of Avdiivka in February amid difficulty securing ammunition, handing Moscow its first major territorial gain in over a year. Brian Mulroney, the former Canadian Prime Minister who struck a free trade deal with the US, but whose legacy was marred by revelations of improper business dealings with an arms dealer, has died. Mulroney, 84, died peacefully, surrounded by family. His daughter, Caroline Mulroney, posted on social media platform X on Thursday.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Mulroney had a heart procedure in August and was treated for prostate cancer earlier last year. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Pierre's son, paid tribute to Mulroney and his family, saying his death left a deep absence. Mulroney led the centre-right Progressive Conservatives to a historic win in 1984 over the Liberals of John Turner. A skilled politician with a gift for public speaking, Mulroney sought to emulate in Canada the conservative learnings of the Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher era by revamping the tax system and selling off government assets. His 9-year stewardship was marked by negotiations for the Canada-United States Free Trade Agreement in 1988, which helped boost Canadian exports, and the introduction of a goods and services tax in 1991. The tax was enormously unpopular politically, but helped fix the government's finances. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was laid to rest in Moscow on Friday, surrounded by crowds of defiant mourners who chanted his name and blamed authorities for his death in prison. Outside the cemetery where he was buried, some supporters shouted in grief, while others yelled out slogans against the Kremlin and its offensive in Ukraine. Despite a heavy police presence and official warnings, thousands of mourners paid their respects to the 47-year-old anti-corruption campaigner whose death in an Arctic prison was announced on the 16th of February. Navalny's death has been widely condemned by Western leaders, and his allies have accused President Vladimir Putin of responsibility and of trying to prevent a dignified public burial. The Kremlin, which has dismissed the accusations as hysterical, warned against unauthorized protests around the funeral. Navalny's body first lay in an open casket in a packed church in Mariino, southern Moscow, for a ceremony attended by his parents. The coffin was closed immediately after the service, meaning many mourners who had wanted to file past were not able to pay their last respects. It was then transported to the Borisovo cemetery near the banks of the Moskva River, where several large wreaths were arranged around the grave.
Kita perkenalkan sistem padu pangkalan data utama. Pertama, ia selaras dengan pendekatan dan dasar transformasi digital. Kedua, menjamin supaya manfaat dan kemudahan itu dinikmati oleh orang yang berhak menerimanya. Dan tentunya dengan cara yang sedemikian mengurangkan kos, mengurangkan ketirisan. Dan kaedah diperkenalkan melalui padu ini ialah secara tidak langsung memaksa setiap warga negara faham tentang transformasi digital dan menggunakan sistem padu. Dengan sendirinya kita ada pencerahan kecelekan budaya dan kecelekan digital.
Venezuela lost an appeal Friday against the resumption of an international criminal court investigation into alleged crimes against humanity committed in 2017, opening the way for the inquiry to resume.
The appeal chamber notes that for a state to be successful in seeking a deferral of the prosecutor's investigation, it is not enough for it to make a blanket statement that the court lacks material jurisdiction on the basis of the absence of contextual elements of the alleged crimes against humanity.
In April 2022, Caracas had asked ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan to halt his probe into a government crackdown on protests against President Nicolas Maduro, in which over 100 people died. It had said it would carry out its own investigation. But in June last year, the ICC pre-trial judges authorized Khan to resume. The investigation is into a crackdown on protests sparked by the arrest of several opposition leaders and the decision of Venezuela's Supreme Court to dissolve the opposition-dominated National Assembly. 5 South American countries and Canada referred the situation in Venezuela to the ICC in 2018, and the court launched a preliminary investigation. Campaigning officially began Friday for elections likely to produce Mexico's first woman president, a watershed for a nation with a long tradition of macho culture. Opposition candidate Xochitl Gálvez launched her campaign after the stroke of midnight in one of Mexico's most dangerous states, seeking to tap into voter concerns about the country's rampant violence. Public opinion polls suggest that she faces a tough battle against ruling party candidate Claudia Sheinbaum, a former Mexico City mayor and close ally of outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. With 3 months to go before the June 2nd vote, Sheinbaum, a 61-year-old scientist by training, enjoys a significant lead with 63% support, according to an average of polls compiled by the Oraculus research firm. Polls showed Gálvez, also 61, has 31% support, while Jorge Alvarez, 31, of the Citizens Movement Party, is a distant third with just 5%. At stake is the future of Latin America's second largest economy, a country of 126 million people that is a key trading partner of the United States and a major tourist destination, but which faces huge challenges from illegal migration and drug-related violence. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen underscored the United States' keen interest in deepening ties with Chile, a key producer of copper and lithium, as both allies work to address climate change and accelerate the energy transition. After a private meeting with Marcel, Yellen told reporters that Chile, a lead producer of lithium and copper, had a critical role to play in the supply chains that will power the world's transition to clean energy. She said there was also significant scope for Chile and the United States to work together in the context of multilateral forums such as the Inter-American Development Bank. The visit is part of a broader push by the Biden administration to reduce its reliance on critical minerals from China and to build more diversified and resilient supply chains. Yellen also lauded Chile's government for its leadership in the energy transition, including through rapid work to decarbonize the electricity sector, leading green bond issuance, and supporting progress in the domestic lithium industry.
Far beyond clean energy.
A high-level WTO conference ended early today with a temporary extension of an e-commerce moratorium, but no deals on agriculture and fisheries, throwing into doubt the effectiveness of the multilateral trade body. The outcomes of the World Trade Organization's 13th Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi highlighted the sharp divisions between the body's 164 members amid geopolitical tensions and economic headwinds that are threatening global commerce.
No, the glass is definitely half full. I feel like we went into MC12 with little chance. People gave us very little chance of success. We pulled it off. We went into MC13 with the same. They are not going to get anything. It will be one without any outcome. And just look what we delivered. So you can.
The WTO, the only international body dealing with the rules of trade between nations, requires full consensus from all members to chalk up deals. It was hoping the MC13 would replicate the landmark success of its 2022 ministerial in Geneva, which yielded a deal on fisheries and saw members agree to restore a now defunct dispute settlement system by the end of this year. As California enters the last month of its traditional snow season and a major storm heads for the Sierra Nevada mountains, California water resource officials said snowpack was near average in most regions of the state. The officials conducted their third snow survey of the season at Phillips Station, a spot west of Lake Tahoe, where they measured a snow depth of 120 cm, which they said is 77% of average for the location. California relies on the Sierra snowpack as a critical natural storehouse of fresh water during dry weather. State hydrometeorologist Angelique Fabiani-Leon said the results show just how critical this upcoming month is going to be in terms of the state's water supply outlook for the upcoming year. The National Weather Service said up to 3.66 meters of snow is forecast to fall in the Sierra Nevada mountains through the coming weekend as a 1-2 punch of dual brutal cold fronts slams into the Pacific Northwest. Al-Hilal moved 9 points clear on the top of the table. Stay tuned. Kicking off our sports segment this afternoon, Al-Hilal moved 9 points clear at the top of the Saudi Pro League on Friday with a 3-1 win over Al-Ittihad. N'Golo Kante, Malcolm and Saud Abdul Hamid put their name on the scoreboard as the team continued to reign at the top of the table without Neymar Jr. French World Cup winner and former Chelsea midfielder Kante gave the visitors the lead with a diving header in the 12th minute before Saudi striker Saleh Al-Shehri drew Al-Hilal level before the break. Brazilian winger Malcolm then put the host in front just shy of the hour mark, with Saudi fullback Abdul Hamid adding Al-Hilal's third just 8 minutes later to put the result beyond doubt. Jorge Jesus' side are unbeaten in the league this season with 20 wins and 2 draws and extended their record for consecutive victories in the league to 15 with the win over the defending champions. Al-Ittihad meanwhile remain in 5th on 37 points. In La Liga, Real Madrid's Jude Bellingham will be fit to face Valencia at the weekend, having recovered from an ankle sprain sustained in early February. Coach Carlo Ancelotti said on Friday that the England international has not trained much with the team, but he is at 100% and will be playing in Valencia on Saturday. Joselu Eduardo Camavinga and Dani Carvajal will also make their return to the squad. Saturday will mark the first time Real and 23-year-old Vinicius Jr. have been back to Mestalla since May 2023, when the Brazilian was allegedly racially abused. The game was halted for 10 minutes as Vinicius pointed out fans who were abusing him before he was involved in an altercation with Valencia players that led him to being sent off. As a result of the incident, Valencia's south stand was partially closed for 5 matches and the club was fined 45,000 euros by the Spanish Football Federation, RFEF. Carlo Ancelotti said the world of football should not forget the incident and should keep denouncing any racial abuse. Real Madrid head to 9th place Valencia on Saturday, looking to strengthen their already solid grip atop the La Liga table. Pep Guardiola says he is expecting the best from Manchester United, even though Manchester City will start Sunday's derby as red-hot favourites to extend their dominance over their rivals. City have won 5 of their past 6 matches against United in all competitions and are 15 points ahead of their opponents in their Premier League.
Action. They create something special in set pieces.
But Guardiola, whose team are chasing a second consecutive trophy treble, said he would not be taking United lightly.
I expect the best for United, but I don't talk one word about what they do, what the opponents, because I respect too much. And I don't want to misunderstand my words, but when I have my comments, always the people say, yeah, Pep Jeep. And it's never is my intention, so that's why it's better don't say anything. So I know them and a lot of respect for institution, United, of course, Eric and the players, but when I see what we have to do, my players will know it today and tomorrow.
Guardiola said this when asked whether City's dominance of matches between the two teams illustrated the shift in the balance of power in Manchester over the past decade.
I'm pretty sure they will work.
Andrei Rublev was defaulted from the Dubai Tennis Championships semi-finals for unsportsmanlike conduct on Friday after yelling at a line judge in the final set of a tense encounter against Alexander Bublik. In a chaotic match where both competitors fumed at the officials at various points, Rublev was defaulted by the chair umpire after a Russian-speaking official appeared to accuse him of using an obscenity while he screamed at the line judge. Rublev denied the allegation and said he had spoken in English during the confrontation. A confused Bublik, who clawed his way back from a set down to lead 6-7, 7-6, 6-5, was awarded the win despite saying that he would be happy to continue the match. The Russian-born Kazakh had fought back from 4-2 down in the decider, adding to the frustration of his childhood friend, who lashed out at the line official at the change of ends after disagreeing with a call. Another official who spoke Russian then confronted Rublev and appeared to accuse him of swearing at the line judge in Russian, which the world number 5 vehemently denied. But after a lengthy back and forth, the 26-year-old was disqualified. The result meant that Rublev will lose his prize money and ranking points earned at the tournament, and that there would be no repeat of last year's title clash where he was beaten by Daniil Medvedev. Meanwhile, Hugo Humbert earned his 4th top 5 win on Friday after he defeated top seed Daniil Medvedev 7-5, 6-3 to reach his second tour-level final of the season. The Frenchman played aggressively throughout the 1-hour 50-minute clash as he pushed defending champion Medvedev wide and opened up the court with his sliding lefty serve to take control of points in the first set. He then recovered from squandering a break advantage in the second set to triumph, roaring after earning victory. Humbert holds a 12-3 record on the season, having triumphed on home soil in Marseille. He will play for his 6th tour-level trophy and second ATP 500 crown against Alexander Bublik on Saturday. Humbert, currently number 15 in the PIF ATP live rankings, won his only previous ATP 500 title in Halle in 2021. Medvedev was competing for the first time since he reached the final at the Australian Open last month. Last year, Medvedev lifted the trophy at the ATP 500 in Dubai. Elsewhere, defending champion Alex de Minaur beat Stefanos Tsitsipas for the first time to reach the semi-finals of the ATP Hardcourt tournament in Acapulco, Mexico. Australia's de Minaur had come up empty in 10 prior meetings against Tsitsipas and is looked like more of a same when the Greek raced through the first set 6-1. Third-seeded de Minaur, coming off a runner-up finish to Australian Open champion Jannik Sinner in Rotterdam, fought back for a 1-6, 6-3, 6-3 victory and booked a loss for clash with Britain's Jack Draper. After being knocked back by the Greeks' power in the opening set, de Minaur steadied behind his lockdown baseline game and turned the match around in the final 2 sets. He was broken 3 times in the opening set and twice in the second, but saved the lone break point he faced in the final set. The third seed converted on 6 of his 12 break chances, according to Infosys ATP stats, in the 2-hour 6-minute match. The result sent de Minaur through to his 23rd ATP Tour semi-final and made him the first Acapulco reigning champion to reach the semi-finals the next year, since 2010 to 2012 champion David Ferrer reached the 2013 final. The Australian came out on top in an exchange of 5 service breaks in the second set and saved the only break point he faced in the third. Dazzling, adventurous and inspiring stories await in our office segment. Residents of Jamnagar shared their pride and excitement on Thursday over the 3-day pre-wedding celebrations of Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani's son, Anand Ambani. The wedding itself does not take place until July, and festivities de facto began on Wednesday when Anand and his bride-to-be Radhika Merchant hosted a communal dinner for local villages that served 51,000. The pre-wedding celebration entertained 1,200 guests and took place in a township in Jamnagar near Reliance's main oil refinery in the western state of Gujarat. Rihanna and US magician David Blaine also performed, and there were also traditional ceremonies in a temple complex. Anand's pre-wedding bash is likely to be attended by Bill Gates, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, fellow Indian billionaires Gautam Adani and Kumar Mangalam Birla, as well as many cricketers and Bollywood film stars. The head of Indian conglomerate Reliance and Asia's richest man, with a net worth of $114 billion according to Forbes, Ambani is known for never doing a party by halves. Gamers anxiously awaited the release on Thursday of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a title based on a 1997 classic that is blurring the boundaries between remakes and reboots. While makers of other blockbusters like Resident Evil, Zelda and Pokemon have tweaked and updated older versions of their games, Japanese publisher Square Enix has something more radical in mind for Final Fantasy VII. The firm has reimagined its 1997 magnum opus as a trilogy, with Rebirth, the second part, following on from 2020's remake, a game that became a bestseller in its own right. The original Final Fantasy VII was one of the biggest selling games for the first PlayStation console, eventually selling more than 14 million copies. It was the first edition of the saga to be released in Europe and the first to attract a global following, coming to be regarded as a classic title.
It's basically the storyline, the graphics, the strategy that you have to use, the decisions that you have to make, and to level up, and to be engaged with the character for such a long time. I mean, it's like watching a movie, but you're in control,
The role-playing game RPG follows Cloud Strive, a member of an eco-terrorist group trying to disrupt the plans of the Shinra Corporation, which sucks energy from the planet to use as a power source. And with that, we reach the end of the world today with a recap of our top story today. Washington to use to drop aid into Gaza. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Salah Berita RTM for more news. You can also stream it on our OTT platform RTM Click or our YouTube channel Berita RTM. Till then, I am Olivia Nicholas. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.